Sports media has always been obsessed with conflict. It feeds on the outdated belief that two dominant women cannot rise at the same time, so it relentlessly forces narratives that place stars against one another for clicks and controversy. For nearly 3 years, that machine has pushed a supposed personal rivalry between Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark. The Yukon Phenom versus the Iowa Icon. Every stat, every tweet, every glance was dissected in search of tension that never truly existed. The story of jealousy was repeated so often that it became accepted as fact, until one moment at a USA basketball training camp completely dismantled the illusion. What surfaced from that camp didn't just weaken the rivalry narrative, it obliterated it. A handful of shaky practice clips began circulating online, followed by an interview that changed everything. The setting itself was powerful, WNBA legends and the next generation of superstars sharing the same court, preparing together. Most people expected discomfort. After all, Caitlin Clark entered the gym as a rookie who had already endured relentless physical defense, face guarding, dismissive commentary, and thinly veiled criticism from veterans. Standing alongside her were players who had publicly questioned her hype. Add Paige Bueckers to the mix, a college superstar many believed had been eclipsed during her injury recovery, and the stage seemed primed for visible friction. But the tension never came. Instead, the footage revealed something almost shocking in its simplicity: harmony. Paige and Caitlin weren't merely tolerating one another. They were excelling together. During scrimmages, they shared the backcourt with instant chemistry, reading each other effortlessly. Caitlin's deep shooting range warped the defense, dragging coverage far beyond reason. Paige sliced through the space that opened with flawless timing and precision. There were smiles, high fives, constant communication, the kind of connection that usually takes seasons to build. In that moment, it became clear the media narrative had it backwards. These two weren't rivals. They were perfectly aligned. The visuals alone were convincing, but the real statement came when Paige Bueckers spoke openly. This wasn't a rushed quote or a polished PR response. Paige sat down and talked basketball with clarity and maturity that made much of the current discourse seem shallow. When asked about Caitlin Clark, she didn't offer generic praise. She broke down the details, highlighting Caitlin's playmaking, her vision, her pace, and the immense difficulty of the responsibilities she carries every night. It was thoughtful, specific, and honest. Most striking was the absence of jealousy. Paige spoke with genuine respect, calling Caitlin a generational talent and acknowledging the weight of expectation placed on her shoulders. Context matters here. Paige Bueckers is a fierce competitor. She wants to be the best. But she's secure enough in her own greatness to recognize someone else's without feeling diminished. In a landscape where athletes often trade subtle jabs, like shady likes or passive-aggressive comments, Paige's words stood out. They represented a shift. This new era of women's basketball isn't built on tearing each other down, it's built on collective dominance. That perspective becomes even more powerful when you consider Caitlin Clark's professional reality. Since entering the WNBA, she's faced skepticism, harsh physicality, and an undercurrent of resistance from parts of the old guard. Records have been questioned. Motives doubted. Fouls delivered with more frustration than strategy. There's an undeniable sense of gatekeeping, fueled by irritation over the attention Clark receives. That tension often shows up on the court through excessive contact and aggressive play. Ironically, if anyone had reason to feel resentful, it would be Paige Bueckers. Before injuries disrupted her path, she was the sport's golden standard, the first freshman to win National Player of the Year, the undeniable face of women's basketball. While she rehabbed, Caitlin Clark rose to historic heights, shattered records, and captured the spotlight. Many would have harbored bitterness. Paige did the opposite. She celebrated it. Her presence at USA camp made it clear. What we're witnessing in some corners of the league isn't competition, it's insecurity. And Paige Bueckers isn't insecure. Beyond the narrative, the basketball itself tells a terrifying story for opponents. Their effectiveness together is rooted in complementary skill sets. Caitlin Clark is a high-usage offensive engine who controls tempo and stretches defenses horizontally with unprecedented range. Paige Bueckers thrives as an efficiency master, Deadly in the mid-range, lethal on cuts, and elite without the ball. In practice, defenses panicked when Caitlin crossed half-court. That panic created space. Paige exploited it instantly, slipping into gaps, cutting backdoor, and operating where defenders simply couldn't recover. Caitlin, one of the game's best passers, found her every time. Chaos and precision working in perfect balance. Seeing that combination in a Team USA environment made one thing unavoidable. The 2028 Olympics could be a nightmare for the rest of the world. If Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark share extended minutes in the same backcourt, no international defense is equipped to handle it. Paige also addressed the physical grind of the pro game, subtly defending Caitlin by acknowledging how demanding that level truly is. While critics debate toughness, Paige validated the reality. She understands the game, and she understands exactly who Caitlin Clark is. Paige Bueckers understands exactly what Caitlin Clark is enduring. She sees the constant full-court pressure, the body checks, the aggressive traps, and the nightly attempts to wear her down physically. By addressing it publicly, Paige isn't just offering empathy, she's preparing herself. As the projected #1 pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, she knows the same "welcome to the league" treatment awaits her. The same vets. The same physical tests. The same scrutiny. By standing with Caitlin now, Paige is forming a united front before the battle even begins. The message is subtle but powerful. I recognize what's happening and I know I'm next. That single act flips the entire narrative. This isn't rookies versus the league, it's the future versus the past. And based on what we saw in that gym, the future is winning. The history behind this moment makes it even more meaningful. Go back to the Final Four matchup, UConn versus Iowa. It was framed as a clash of titans, and it delivered. The game ended with controversy, the offensive foul called on Aaliyah Edwards, but before that whistle, it was pure war. Caitlin Clark emerged victorious, ending UConn's season. What followed was chaos online. UConn fans cried robbery. Iowa fans claimed supremacy. The discourse turned toxic instantly. Paige could have leaned into that anger. Many would have. Instead, even then, she chose grace. Seeing them now, months removed from that emotional loss, wearing the same USA jersey together brings finality to those fan wars. You simply can't be a Team Paige fan who hates Caitlin, or a Team Caitlin fan who despises Paige, when the players themselves are openly celebrating one another. Their unity dismantles the toxicity of their own fan bases. It sends a clear lesson: you can battle for championships one season and be teammates the next. That's sportsmanship, something even some veteran critics could learn from. This conversation also can't exist without acknowledging the third pillar of this generation, Angel Reese. The media loves triangles. They cast Angel as the villain, Caitlin as the hero, and Paige as the unproblematic favorite quietly off to the side. Paige's interview disrupts that entire structure. By openly praising Caitlin, she removes the silence the media relies on to manufacture drama. Normally, if Paige said nothing, headlines would read, "Does Paige secretly resent Caitlin Clark?" By speaking clearly and confidently, Paige kills the clickbait. She forces the truth into the open. Elite players respect elite players. That isolates the real negativity. Now, if someone throws shade at Caitlin, they can't hide behind the excuse that everyone feels this way. No, Paige Bueckers doesn't. And that makes the bitterness far more visible. There's also a massive business dimension to this alliance. Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark are the two most marketable figures women's basketball has ever seen. We're talking multi-million-dollar nil valuations, signature shoe conversations, and global brand partnerships. Together, they're not just players, they're an economy. Every time they share the court, even in practice, they raise the value of the entire sport. They understand something many don't: growth is collective. If Caitlin elevates the WNBA's visibility, Paige's rookie endorsements in 2025 will be bigger. If Paige brings the massive UConn fan base into the league, Caitlin benefits from the revenue surge. They know a fake rivalry might sell headlines today, but genuine partnership sells the league for the next decade. They're thinking long-term while everyone else is chasing short-term outrage. Naturally, The interview sparked speculation. The WNBA is expanding. The Golden State Valkyries are entering the league. Roster movement is inevitable. While Caitlin is firmly tied to Indiana, the idea of these two eventually teaming up at the professional level is the dream scenario executives quietly fantasize about. It's unlikely in the immediate future due to draft logistics, but the bond formed at USA Basketball will fuel super team rumors for years. We've seen this story before. LeBron James and Dwayne Wade planted seeds during Olympic runs. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving did the same. This practice session was a seed, not necessarily for 2025, but maybe for 2028 or 2029. The interview made one thing clear: the personal relationship already exists. Paige also deserves immense credit for her mindset. Over the last 3 years, she spent more time rehabbing than playing. Watching Caitlin Clark put together a historic run while you're sidelined in a knee brace could easily breed resentment. The what-ifs would haunt anyone. What if I never got hurt? Would I own the records? Would I be the face of the sport? To come out of that experience without bitterness is remarkable. Paige's praise of Caitlin isn't submission, it's confidence. She doesn't need to dim Caitlin's light to shine. She knows when she steps onto a WNBA floor, her game will speak. And if you listen closely to the interview, there's quiet assurance beneath her words. When she talks about how hard the league is, she's also saying, "I'm ready too." This is why the media dislikes the interview. Respect doesn't sell the way conflict does. Beef drives clicks. Wholesomeness disrupts the business model. That's why some major outlets barely covered Paige's comments or buried them. They contradict the catfight narrative that's been pushed around women's basketball. Paige refused to play the role. She talked about reads, spacing, passing, and defense. She redirected the conversation back to the game itself. It was a masterclass in media control. Looking ahead, this interview feels like the prologue to the 2025 WNBA season. Paige Bueckers will almost certainly be the #1 pick. She'll land on a franchise desperate for transformation, possibly the Los Angeles Sparks, Dallas Wings, or Washington Mystics. And when she arrives, the Caitlin Clark treatment may shift directly onto her. The blitzes, the physicality, the skepticism. But don't be surprised if Caitlin is the one publicly defending Paige next year. What we're witnessing is the formation of a coalition. The new generation is sticking together. This interview was the first public declaration of that alliance. Finally, go back to the practice footage itself. The eye test told us something numbers never could. Stats say Caitlin scores. Stats say Paige is efficient. But together they showed flow. Basketball flow. The kind where movement feels instinctive, where decisions are made before defenders can react. Ball-dominant stars usually take months to coexist. Think Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Paige and Caitlin figured it out in minutes. Paige knew when to cut. Caitlin knew when to deliver. It looked effortless, like they'd been teammates since childhood. That chemistry explains the glow in Paige's interview. She wasn't being polite, she was energized. Playing with someone who sees the game at your level is intoxicating for elite athletes. The WNBA is entering a leadership transition. Legends like Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, and Candace Parker are gone or nearly gone. The middle generation still holds the crown, but cultural leadership is up for grabs. Caitlin is the most visible star, but the media storm around her makes her polarizing. Paige Bueckers has the chance to be the unifier, the Hooper's Hooper, respected across locker rooms. By publicly supporting Caitlin, she positioned herself as a future ambassador of the league, not just a scorer. One final detail matters. Paige called Caitlin's passing underrated. That's not casual praise, that's elite analysis. Casual fans see logo threes. Critics see turnovers. Basketball minds see angles, timing, and difficulty. By highlighting that, Paige educated the audience. She elevated the discourse. When a pure guard like Paige Bueckers validates your passing, the argument is over. And with the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics looming on home soil, the torch is ready to be passed. The old era is closing. The next one has already begun.